Hi, folks. Welcome to this new edition of TechLight. And as the theme for the season, it's time to build in India. For today's session, we have Ganesh Shankar from FluxGen Technologies as our guest. And we will be talking about this topic with Ganesh. Ganesh, welcome to TechLight.
Thank you, Anoop. Thank you so much for inviting me to the TechLight. I'm very happy that I'm here.
Hey, pleasure having you on our platform, Ganesh.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Ganesh, as per the topic, right? We're talking about building in India, and a lot of people think building hardware is difficult, right? And you have an interesting story around how you encountered hardware, and you have an idea of whether it is easy or difficult. Can you give us a background of how your journey started, with hardware?
Thanks, Anoop. As I say, one of the key things in life is, especially for a innovator or entrepreneur, is necessity is the mother of invention. So that's the same story for me also. And it goes back to my college days. In RV college, during my time, laboratory course was for 100 marks, right? I mean, later on it became 50 marks, and people used to find it difficult to clear the laboratory, especially electronic circuits and communication circuits, since I was in the communication branch. So I also had difficulty when I had my exam, so I had to do a lot of repeat experiments in various other places, and then was fortunately cleared the exam on the first attempt in the lab. But it was a very big nightmare. So I ended up starting a small laboratory during my college days, right? Because I saw a business opportunity. So when you have business opportunity, everything else falls. You start doing things. So during that time, I actually learned how to make a printed circuit board, circuit design, and everything to make our own modules for the lab. So I really didn't have any training in any of this PCB design or anything like that. I was fortunate that I ended up learning it because it was required. As I say, it was a necessity was what it drove me to learn that. And I should say it continued. That lab was setting up that lab was a very good starting point. I ended up working in a startup soon after my engineering. I should say that I didn't do really great in my engineering, but because I was also doing a lot of all these hobby circuits and things like that. But yes, I think I should say that it was good that I ended up working in a startup. And startup back in 2005. You got to do everything in a startup, whether it is 2005 or now. But in 2005, it was even different. So I was doing circuit design. I was getting the printed circuit board done, and I was even writing the software. So I realized that the more you do, you learn on your own, right? It is all practice makes a man perfect, right? The same thing. I mean, I ended up doing a lot of this, and fortunately, I had a very good GATE score. I even got a seat at the Institute of Science. I did my master's. So my guides were not particularly from any particular skill like all these things. So they only give us high-level picture on what to build, right? We were supposed to build something called a quadrupole ion trap mass spectrometer in our lab. So while building this, we knew what the physics was behind it, what should be the functionality of this equipment. Most of the other things was building the circuits or components was all we just did it frugally. We started understanding the requirement, gathered the functional requirement, converted it into electrical requirement, electronic circuit requirement, and we actually developed these circuits. Of course, there was in the very first run, these circuits were very high voltage circuits, and this one there are some errors in the design. But when we ended up doing many of this version, a couple of version of it, it didn't require any professional help for us at that point of time to make a MVP. But I should also say that as after I graduated from Indian Institute of Science, I ended up working with General Electric. I worked with aviation business. I was an analog engineer there, and I then later worked in energy business in GE. So even in GE also, initially the circuit design, all those things was done from the concept that I had learned. I mean, the concepts are very important. That you can't. There's no alternative to learning concepts. So using this concept, I was able to build the circuits. Of course, we got some training from the high teams from various teams in GE, which helped us make it to a very product grade, because we are planning to sell 1 million energy meters during that time. So that's where I actually got a high level of training to actually build something for a scale of 1 million. But if you ask me, when we are building products for a smaller scale, and this one, most of this thing was all self-learned. So I feel like it is good if you actually, definitely the level at which you can actually build PCBs or circuits can become rather very good once you get that kind of a training. But if you ask me today, there are so many tools outside available and so many things. I wish I had a time machine and I restarted my career with what exists today. So yes, this is my journey. And when I started FluxGen also, of course, I operate as a managing director and CEO. I have various roles to play, but a lot of things that I do today goes back to this experience on building these circuits and systems. Because our business is very hardware focused, it's IoT businesses were focused. But I feel not confident for today, because we have great people in our team and we have a great ecosystem as well to build great products.
Sure. That's an inspiring background, Ganesh. As you said, necessity is the mother of invention, and running a lab, a parallel lab to your college lab, running an education business, has that inspired the current course that you are currently offering in you're planning to offer, and what kind of message do you have for students who would take your course, as well as for students who are pursuing engineering today, who are probably academic focused, and especially in the hardware space, might not have the hands-on experience at a college level, right? So what kind of message do you have for students there?
See, one of the reasons why I offer the course at my alma mater is this course, Product Prototyping in IoTs, because I come from a family of teachers. My father, grandfather, great-grandfather, everyone were teachers. I associate it in that at a family traditional level. Nobody was an entrepreneur in our this one. So, and I also feel there's a lot of myth surrounding building products. So there's a myth that somebody should be trained or should have some 20, 30 years experience to build a product. So that is one of the main reason why I like to offer this course. And it is, I mean, today even rocket science is not rocket science, as I would say, right? So when rocket science itself is not rocket science, building electronics and products in electronics is rather very doable. And the good news is you don't even have to be an electronics engineer to build electronics products. So the democratization of access to the tools has made anyone to build a prototype. So you have so many tools to prototype, whether it comes in terms of hardware tools like Arduino or various other things that you would come across, or whether even if you want to design PCBs, there's so many open source tools and various other tools which give you a lot of flexibility even in a freemium model, right? So my ultimate goal is to break this myth that it requires a lot of experience to build great products. So through this course or through my message, even through this video, I want to tell that taking a step-by-step approach and going through various resources available in the internet, anybody can actually build electronic products today.
Sure.
So, yeah.
So on that note, for uh, budding entrepreneurs or engineers who are looking to start up, especially in the current ecosystem uh, where there is potential manufacturing opportunity in India, especially in the electronics space, uh, what would be the ecosystem for starting up? Right? How can somebody who wants to start up approach the process? Like, can somebody do it alone? Would I need to have all the skill set, or are we? Is there a different approach that one should be taking when they're thinking of starting up, especially in the hardware space?
Yeah, so as I said, continuing to what I said, maybe building a basic prototype of a proof of concept of your solution, or a pilot project, to show a functionality to maybe even to a, since you mentioned the entrepreneurs, to a seed round, seed funding, or an individual or a couple of people can just themselves do it. You can use tools like basic tools, breadboard and various other components that are available. In Bangalore, you have SP Road. You can just go, or online you can order. Various platforms are there. Once you build a proof of concept, basically working prototype, what I would call, then there are various ecosystem that you could take into account. Like, I mean, once you have a good circuit and you work with a person who would actually refine your circuit and get it reviewed from a fairly an electronics engineer. Now, the next level is from a person who could have been any engineer who could do this prototype. Now you would have somebody who would have the understanding of building a product on an electronic circuit. So that kind of ecosystem are available, and I'm very happy that Lion Circuits is doing that great work of giving you end-to-end uh, possibility to create your own boards. It's just not only you get a PCB from this place. You get the printed circuit board manufactured, and you could actually get the components also and assemble it. So there are of course various platforms you can go. I would strongly recommend you can check the ecosystems available, and even the ecosystem through IESA or various other platforms today are doing very good job. IoT forum, various other forums are doing good job, and after which you can actually go through this platform and get it reviewed and make sure that what all you would want, whether it is a whole, even including the enclosure level, you could actually put it together, plan it accordingly. I would also recommend another platform called Karkhana.io. They do the enclosure design. I've been very happy with their work also. So, and there are 3D printing facilities available. There is laser cutting tools available out in the city, and you could even order it online. So the entire supply chain is accessible today, even for small quantity. Sure. Right? That's a good news for all the entrepreneurs. So they don't have to have a huge number in their mind to build this.
So, Ganesh, you spoke about building products, and probably any engineer building it, and an electronics engineer taking it to the next level. Folks who start working, do I look at, say, one prototype that I need to develop, and that kind of just works in the market? Or would I need to do like multiple prototypes before I am able to launch something in the market? How does it work typically in the hardware space?
See, I should say that in your initial stage, now I'm talking as an entrepreneur. Now there is no company like GV's funding or any circuit. It is like your own funding. So you got to be as this one minimalistic in your spending, right? So You can't afford to do a lot of mistakes, unless if you are in a big company, you can do those mistakes, and it's covered up. But in a startup, what typically happens, and it has happened to me, is we have an idea. I have an idea, and I end up trying to build that. So you don't build the entire product because you are still testing with your end users, right? I mean, you have an idea, you build a product prototype, and you start giving it to few users, and then side by side you do the market analysis, whether the market would need this product or not. In most cases, or especially like a guy who like me, who don't come from an MBA background or doesn't have a business background, I made a lot of mistakes. I didn't know exactly what was the market opportunity. But so as an entrepreneur, you end up making a lot of mistakes, right? So the initial product prototype, you would think this is a market that I want to address, and you show the success to the initial users, and then you will come to know that they like it, but it is more like nice to have. So when the product is nice to have, it would not go long. You should be solving a bleeding problem. So it took me a lot of time to identify what is a bleeding problem that we should be solving. I should say we started up with electrifying villages and trying to find out the energy monitoring in these houses that was powered by a solar plant. But then we realized that these people are not having enough money to pay for it. There was no financial viability. So then we ended up trying to do something for a grid tower monitoring. We thought, or a cell tower monitoring. So the cell tower monitoring is basically you would monitor the amount of energy coming from grid and how much of the energy is coming from diesel generator. So when we actually developed this whole product to an extent, not fully, but then we realized that there's a lot of people who don't want this product to survive. If not, the diesel sales would go down. So the hardware was actually some way destroyed in the field because this would detect this problem. So then we realized again there is no we would not actually take it forward to the large extent. And then we were actually hopped into a problem to solve water leakage, wastage in any industrial infrastructure. Since industries buy water at very high price, and they also have strict environmental compliance, water is very should be well managed in industries. So when we started doing this, the same product that we developed for one client, which was a product prototype, we realized that many other people wanted this product. That's when we actually went to the details and started building a more concrete industry-ready product. So what was good for a specific customer to solve that particular customer's problem, and it was not particularly cost optimized and even feature optimized. We decided to do it. We did the cost optimization, feature optimization, when we realized there was a product and the market fit that happened. So this happens to most entrepreneurs. They don't end up building the product they want to build, and so it is very important that you don't invest too much of your money in making your product in a full stack development, in whether it's electronics or software, for the very first customer. The very first customer actually tells you what is the right product you should eventually build. So most of our product development happened because of great feedback and this one from the customers. So that's what I would say to all entrepreneurs. Don't perfect. Always keep it. There'll always be bugs. It will be broken at a different levels over a period of time. So just go from one MVP to the next MVP, which has a more viability.
Sure. Yeah. Makes perfect sense. Like listen to your customers, and yeah, make sure you're making use of resource which is owned by nature maybe, and not owned by cartels.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I would also add to that. I mean, as you write, customers play a very important role. Most of the product features derive out of customer interaction, and that's how we actually developed our product. And these customer interviews, even the potential customer interviews and your segment customer interviews, really has helped us come up with the final product that we are today selling.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks for that background, Ganesh. I think we have had a good interaction, and there's a lot of takeaways for people who want to build in India. You know that it's not very difficult. It's not rocket science when rocket science is not rocket science. And yeah, so there's the ecosystem. There's different engineers you would have to interact with. You would talk to electronics engineers to actually take your prototype to what we can call production. And yeah, for budding hardware entrepreneurs out there, uh, Ganesh's course on prototyping in IoT is one option to evaluate. And yeah, the last part, don't miss listening to your customers.
Yeah,
Uh,
thank you so much actually for this opportunity. I would say that this is the right time for us to develop in India. There's the entire ecosystem is available today, and it is not. You don't have to go all the way to various other options. It was previously the default choice. Today, India can become the default choice for your entire ESDM development. Okay, I say the time has come for India today.
yeah, sure. On that message, it's time to build again in India, and yeah, hopefully in the next few years, in India starts shipping out a lot of final build products.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ganesh, for joining
Thanks
us.
so much. Thanks so much. Thanks so much, Anu.
Yeah, thanks to viewers for watching us.